Well, it's a beautiful, calm evening. About 58 to 59 degrees. Hardly a breath of a breeze. And I've got the UMX Radian out here. I was just going to do, since I probably won't find any lift, and since there seems to be a bit of consternation on the RCG thread for the plane as far as porpoising and CG and decalage and all those other finer points of trimming a sailplane, I figured I would just fly a short demo flight to show the power on and power off behavior of the plane when everything is about right. And you can see the elevator is pretty much level with the stab, and the battery is right there. That's a E-flite 150 45C. With the battery right there, I get the CG at about 31 or so, CG 31 to 32, which is, I think, right where the factory recommends it to be. So, you know, it's pretty hard to get the CG at the neutral handling point, or even anywhere near close to it, without hollowing out a little bit of the foam so you can slide the battery back. Hope I can get that in the view of the camera here. So, here goes. Just a gentle toss with the power at about 50%, and off it goes. You know, there's power off, and it's gliding. Now it's porpoising a little bit because I've got the elevator. I do have the elevator trimmed up slightly. So I'm going to return that to neutral. I did have a little bit of up trim in it. You notice it just climbs a little bit under power. It doesn't balloon. And I have my trim step set to the minimum step setting on my transmitter, so 4 beeps on my transmitter is only 1 standard click of trim. Okay, there, now I got it trimmed out, full throttle, hands off, it just climbs. Reduce the power slowly, and it just settles into a glide. I'm hands off except for, but you see it's neutral CG. So it'll dive, it won't pull out. That's the one thing about having the CG at the neutral point, is that it will not pull out of a dive under its own power. But there's how it should glide. And power on, it just climbs. Here's another glide past myself here. You see it just glides along. And now I'm going to hit the power, and notice it doesn't do anything but just climbs slowly. That's how it behaves when you've got everything right with the world. It shouldn't do anything strange or unusual, power on or power off. You know, there should be no abrupt changes. It should just fly. Like I'm hands off except for rudder here. Full throttle, look at it. Just starts climbing. Nothing dramatic. power off. Hands off except rudder. Notice the nose didn't drop suddenly. Nothing happened. It just settled into a glide. That's how a powered sailplane should behave when it's trim balanced right and the decalage is right and basically everything's right with the world. And so if you follow the standard procedures for checking decalage and trimming a sailplane, trimming CG and adjusting for best glide, if you take the time required to do that, the plane will reward you with excellent flying manners and a great glide. Now, just for grins, let me take it up all the ways and do the CG dive test. Put it in a dive and it just stays there. It slowly, see, it's slowly pulled out of the dive on its own. That means it's just slightly, very slightly nose heavy, which is good for, you know, your average flying around. If you want to squeak out just every last bit of glide performance, then move the CG back until it does a completely neutral dive test. Okay, I'm going to come in, land, and move the CG all the way back, move the battery all the way back as far as I can get it, and see if you can see any difference. Well, almost caught it, but I'm not a very good catch. I was a terrible basketball and a terrible baseball player. There, I moved the CG, there I moved the battery back as far as it can go. That's, I think on this plane last time when I measured it, it was around a 33 millimeter CG. Notice my elevator is pretty much level with respect to the stab. Okay, now the CG is back just a little. I'm going to apply a little teeny clicker or so. Wait a minute, no. I'll leave the seat, I'll leave the trim where it was. Here you go. Half throttle, gentle toss. Power off. That's my primary timer going off. I've got two timers set up on this thing. One, a throttle timer that only activates under power, and I have that one there. You see, it gains altitude, but doesn't do anything unusual. Same for power off. Power off. Power on full. See? That's how it's supposed to fly. So yeah, that's my one flight timer for power on throttle flights. Then I've got another timer that starts as soon as I fire up the transmitter, and that's my long timer that I use, you know, for if I got a lot of lift and I'm not on power. There I'm flying along at about 15% power. Look at how it flies. It just flies so nicely, power on and power off. And at that point, I think I'm going to bring it in and call it quits. See if I can catch it this time. Well, it's going a little fast. See, it's actually pretty maneuverable too. Oh well, I'm going to let it land. So there you go. See, elevator neutral. Battery shoved all the way back in as far as it can go. The CG at about 32 millimeters. And the decalage correct. And that's how it should fly.